Shall we start, Sonny? Give me a heads up when ready.
We are ready, Pablo. We just turned off the music, so we are all good to start.
Fabulous.
Thank you.
We are just waiting for Professor Tan to join. He's one of the speakers, but apart from that, perfect. So we are complete, and this is another cooperation special interest group session. So welcome. Here today at the APNIC 52 conference, my name is Pablo. I'm an APNIC staff member, and I will be your MC today. The cooperation SIG, as we know it, is the APNIC space to discuss broader internet issues which are related to the APNIC community. The emphasis here is, of course, cooperation across stakeholders, cooperation between different disciplines. So in the last years, we have had sessions about legal intercepts, internet cross-jurisdictional issues, privacy and the WHOIS database, cyber norms, etc., etc. So today, for the very first time in an APNIC conference, we will be discussing a topic which I hope will be of interest to the community, to the network operators present here in the conference. The topic today is about sustainability and environmental impact of internet operations. And it's a very packed session with stories from the ISP, data center, and the energy supply sectors, which I hope you find relevant and inspiring as well. I just need to remind you about the code of conduct, which is posted on the chat room. And feel free to post your questions here at the chat if you have any. I will now move to introduce our chair, the chair of Cooperation SIG, Joy Chan, from TWNIC. Joy has been the chair of Cooperation SIG since April 2019 in Daejeon, when we used to meet in person. Also with us today is the co-chair, Bikram Shrestha, from whom you will hear more at the end of the session. And it has been a pleasure to work with both Joy and Bikram to put this session together. As a final note, I will be helping Joy to keep track of the time. So for the speakers, whenever you see these, please be mindful about the time of your participation. Joy, the floor is yours, and let's kickstart a beautiful Cooperation SIG session.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Pablo. I think that we have always worked together to have a great cooperation SIG. And as Pablo said, that this is a cooperation SIG and we're looking for cooperations, and it is about the broader internet topics. So today, for the very first time, as Pablo mentioned, that we are doing the theme on internet's environmental impact, how ISP and data center address energy efficiency and environmental sustainability. So this is a great topic. I think this is the first time in the APNIC. We have wonderful speakers, and we also have environmental experts to help us to dialogue between the speakers and everybody else here together. So I'm gonna give my floor to Sunny, because I think you have some secretarial materials that you want to share with our SIG before we actually go into our speakers. Sunny?
Thank you, Joy. As this is a cooperation SIG session, I'm seeking cooperation from everyone to take part in the SIG and IANA RC elections, and I really don't know what happened to the screen there. Yeah, I'll start sharing the slides again, but I'd like to get this administrative matter quickly out of the way so you can have a great session of Cooperation SIG at APNIC 52 today. So just a reminder, I quickly want to go through the administrative matters here, that we have SIG elections as well as IANA RC elections at this conference. And we have a number of positions, as you can see on the screen, we have a number of positions open for elections. Next slide, please. Quickly, let's go. And also we have IANA RC position open for this election as well, elections as well. So there's one seat which is elected by the community, which is open for elections at this conference. Next slide, please. We have opened the call for nominations on 6th of August and we closed on 6th of September. Whoever get elected to the SIG SIG for 2 years, they'll start their term end of this conference, APNIC 52 conference, and they add to the end of APNIC 56 conference. And the person who get elected to the INRC position, they have a 2-year term as well, from 1st of January 22nd to the 31st of December 2023. Next slide, please. And here are the nominations. The nominee statements are on the website, so please have a look at it and before you vote. And if you want to read about who they are and what their interest is in this position, all details are published online. Next one, please. The critical part here is the voting eligibility. You must be registered to this conference, APNIC 52 conference, before the deadline that was set at 10 a.m. UTC+8 today, 14th of September. And then you probably would have attended or registered or attended at least one of the 8 past conferences, which are listed on the website, on the slide here, as well as on the website. Next one, please. Eligible voting will have 1 vote each, and they can exercise their voting rights in the Big Pulse voting system. It's the same system that we used for the EC elections as well as the NRO-NC elections in the past, and this time we are using the same system for the SIG elections and IANA elections online. The voting period already started this morning, and it will end on 16th of September at 2 p.m. And this is your first time, I got a couple of screenshots here, how you can log in. On the APNIC 52 website, you already logged in because you joined this session, right? So you are already logged in. All you have to do is you just go back to that login where it says your name, click on My APNIC dashboard, and then next slide, please. And then you will end up on this screen here. You see the voting button on the left image, and then you click on that, and then you go into the candidates voting pages, and then you can select each voting method and each elections, and then you cast your vote. Next one, please. Declaration of results will be announced in the AMM2. That's the last day of the conference at 3:15 UTC+8. The election chair will announce the results. Next one, please. The election chair for this time is Kuwe Wu. Is appointed by the APNIC EC, independent from any APNIC member, and doesn't have any interest in these elections. His responsibilities are to oversee the election process, appoint the election scrutineers, and declare the election results, as well as resolve any disputes that come across to him. The election officers for this one is, as appointed by the election chair, is Andre and Connie for the NRO-NC, and myself, Sunny, for the SIG and SIG chairs and IANA RC election. And our responsibility is to administer the nominations, to manage the voting process, retrieve online voting results in front of the scrutineers. Of course, they will join as well. Report the results to the election chair, and the election chair will announce them and answer any queries from the members and voters. Next one, please. Election scrutineers for this time is Chempika Vijayatunga from ICANN and Madhavi Gokul for AFRINIC. Thanks so much for them to volunteer for this position, and they are appointed by the election chair. Their responsibilities are to observe the downloading of election results by the election officers virtually and notify the election chair in case any anomaly or issue is identified. Next one, please. Notice of disputes can be lodged to the election chair at that email ID an hour before the election results are announced, and the election chair will resolve the dispute at his discretion. Next one. Just a reminder, the voting is now open, and you can actually log into My APNIC or APNIC login, and you have time until 2 p.m. UTC+8 on Thursday, 16th of September to cast your vote, and I hope you all participate. Thank you so much, Joy.
Okay, wonderful. So let's get back to our theme. And I know our speakers just can't wait to share with you on their experience. So let me quickly tell you that we have 4 speakers. The first one is going to go on is Michael Jenga. He is from the Rail Broadband, and he's going to be talking about the autonomy and the risk management solution to keep the connectivity running. So looking how SP manage battery and the preemptifier energy backups. I thought that's going to be great. And follow on that, it's going to be Ricky Gayathi from PT data center in Indonesia. So he's going to talk about the solar from the point of view the solar energy. So I thought that's for the data center, it's going to be quite interesting. And then we're going to come to the micro hydroelectric from Trail Puni. We call her Puni. She is from the People-Centered Business and Economic Institute. And last but not least is the data from the National Supercomputer Center from Singapore. And that's Dr. Tan Ting Wee on the decarbonization. So with that, I think that we're going to have a wonderful story, the 4 stories to share. And I said earlier, later we're going to have some of our environmental experts to have the dialogue from Jin Wong, Chen Wee, and Michael. So let me not take too much time and turn the floor to Michael. You are on as our first speaker to tell the story.
Hi, can everybody hear me? Just somebody raise a hand. Excellent. So I will now attempt the second thing, which is to share the screen. Can you see the screen? I assume yes. Yeah? Okay. Thanks, Joy, for the introduction. My name is Michael Gingold. I go by Mikey, and I am Director, Strategy and Operations of Erjaldi, which is a rural ISP. And we're based in India, obviously, if I haven't said that. What we'll be talking about today, and I have a whole of 7 minutes, which is not that much, is developing a power monitoring system for rural ISP operations and some lessons and insights, which I hope you will find useful. So in a nutshell, Erjaldi is, as I said, a rural internet service provider with the mission of being part of the story of connecting rural India. And we have been working very hard to be part of this story since 2007. And we are authorized to work all over India, but right now we are working in 9 states of India's 37. It's a big country. We cover roughly our footfall, wireless and wired is about 80,000 square kilometer. And we reach about 200,000 users and beneficiaries. Qualifier, this is not the number of accounts, this is beneficiaries and users. We serve multiple segments. We do not limit ourselves. We serve enterprises, home users, and also run public hotspots. Again, it's not a technical talk, definitely not about Erjaldi. But what we do in a nutshell is we take connectivity that exists on a backbone, normally fiber. In India, most locations on average, and average is a dangerous piece of statistics, are about 50 kilometers, no more than 50 kilometers from a fiber. Our job is to extend connectivity effectively and in a sustainable manner. And when I say sustainable, technical and economical, to areas that require high capacity and secure connectivity. Now, in terms of the problem that we have quite a number of problems like anybody, but when you run a rural network like ours, you are basically working in rural, and I always like to say that rural is rural because it's rural. And this is sort of, this tautology is meant to say that rural areas are typified by not so sort of relatively sparse populations, challenging geographies, challenging infrastructure. Power is a piece of infrastructure. We can't change population, at least Erjaldi can't, and we can't change geography. But when it comes to power, we are facing a lot of power disruptions, which is again a very typical situation in areas such as ours. And these are sort of they're caused by just total failures or fluctuations. And this means that the uptime that you run serving customers is of course impacted by that. And in order to deal with this, you need to create a power backup system. Now, this is where we're beginning to have problems. Power backups are costly, no matter what you do. We see here in the slide, we're looking at a solar powered relay, has no connection to the mains. This is an expensive business. And one of the big questions, you see a little box below the solar panel, those of you who have sharp eyes, this is a battery box. How many batteries do you put? Every addition to what you build is cost. And that cost has to be justified by the revenue. And it's a very, very tight game. So you're getting into sort of static assessments. You say, okay, I'm going to have that kind of equipment. That's going to be the consumption. I'm going to be charging. That's how long it's going to take me to charge. If the power goes down, more or less, I'll have so many hours. There are, of course, very, very sophisticated measuring devices. This is not a new problem by any means. So you could go ahead and buy them, but they're very, very expensive. So again, you're trying to solve a problem that essentially has financial implications by throwing more money at it, not necessarily a greatest way of doing it. But as a result of these kind of guesstimates, you're getting into very, very costly practices of either running too fast to a relay or running too late when the relay is down. What are the parameters for the solution? The first thing is a clear problem statement. When we set out to do this project, which by the way was funded by APNIC Foundation, ISIF Asia, is we don't need a very, very sophisticated device. What we want is we want a solution that tells us how many hours before this relay goes down. Second of all, it needs to be affordable. The devices I mentioned are sort of in the hundreds of dollars range. We wanted something that's below $10. And we wanted it to have an analysis and reporting software. I've got about 2 minutes, I believe, so I'm going to try and run very quickly, sorry. Not quickly, of course. So we built a system. It has a simple UI alert. It tells you, pay attention to network 8, network B. It, of course, has a device that is below $10. It tells you what you need to know and not more. In our case, voltage and amperage. There are many more interesting factors about batteries, but we're not going to get into it now, and we don't really need them. Call to action. In this case, you see that the battery in case or the relay in case will die in 8 hours. So you know how much time you've got to either wait for the electricity to come or to get going. And if you really want to, you get detailed stats. And there's more, of course. I'm just showing you two opening screens. So what are the lessons? They're pretty straightforward, but I believe that, lessons need to be straightforward. First of all, get a clear problem statement. What is it that you're trying to solve? More often than not, especially us as receivers of technology, we get great answers looking for good questions. We have a lot of good questions that don't always have good answers. Understand what you're looking at. In this case, we wanted a way to analyze what's going on with our relays, and we wanted to know how much TTL, time to live, which is stolen from somewhere else, does this relay have? And then I know that with my motorcycle, it takes me 2 hours, so I know how long it's going to take. Solution has to be relevant. It has to be something that is cost effective, and beyond all of it, it has to be scalable. The world in GitHub is full of wonderful projects, and this project is also on GitHub, that never scaled up for a variety of reasons. The way we try to solve this, and again, this is not a commercial outlet of AirJolly. We're an internet service provider, although we do other things. We offer a freemium model. You can download the whole thing, including instructions on how to enable the UI that we provide, including instructions on how to use the sorts, the boards that we have, and build your own system. Pablo, I'll take 20 seconds for relevance, if you allow me. What is the wider relevance? This is a story. This is a story of a small internet, not a small, a medium internet service provider in India. How does that relate to many people here who are not involved in this work? I think we're all looking at very large and wider challenges that go all the way from connectivity, which is why we're in EPINIC, but dealing with the world's challenges, which are very, very clear to us. The lessons that I draw from this is, first of all, let's align the goals and the problems. If we have a goal of creating a circular economy, making a greener world, and lowering our carbon footprint, we need to translate this into a language that an ISP can understand, not in terms of the language, but in terms of interest alignment. Second of all, it's clear to all of us that connectivity is central to global challenges. Therefore, it needs to be supported, which is where I get to modes and incentives for cooperation. The challenge ahead of us is how do we align what we can bring? We can bring connectivity, others can bring support, with the challenges that we need to face together. Thank you very much, and sorry for going a little bit over time.
Okay, thank you, Michael. I know your story is impressive, and there's much, much more you can share with us, and unfortunately, we only have this much time. So like you said, that there's people raising questions and that the answer, the solution needs to be reasonable and it has to be, in today's case, it's environmental friendly. So next we have Ricky. He's talking gonna be from the solar energy point of view. So he has a very environmental friendly data center. So Ricky, it's yours now.
Yes, thank you, Joy. Let me try to share my screen again. Sorry. Let's see. Okay, can you guys see the screen now? Okay. Okay, let me introduce myself. My name is Ricky Gayathi. I'm with PT Data Center Indonesia Sukses Makmur. So I'm building a new data center here. I'm a director, project directors for this company. So what we are trying to build in Jakarta is actually trying to build a new data center which is green and eco-sustainable. So most data center in Indonesia is not really green at the moment. Most of them are old, and some of the new ones also taking a lot of energy. So we're trying to do something different here. What we need for the data center to be sustainable is because we use a lot of power and water. Data center use lots of power. You know, our data center right now using 15 to 26 megawatts of power. That's enough to run, you know, a few small cities in Indonesia. So what the power use is mostly for IT loads. So there's two ways to be sustainable in here. First of all, we need to be sustainable of power, and the second one will be water. In power itself, most people trying to do to be efficient. Efficient means using the PUE. PUE typically is a power usage effectiveness, means if I run 100 watts of power, how many total, including the cooling, it will be 1.4 to 2.0, meaning I will need 140 to 200 of watts of power to cool 100 watts of IP, the servers that you use. So the first step is to be as efficient as possible in terms of our infrastructure, using new technology, cooling designs, and you need to improve most of them. The second one is you need to use renewable energy. This is the one that we are doing. We're trying to find a solution for our renewable energy. There's not much. I will show you on the next slide. But what we're trying to reach, the impact, is to reduce the carbon footprint very, very significantly. We're trying to be zero, but it's a very long road to get there, but that's what we're trying to aim. And the second one, we want to lead the movement of sustainable energy. We want to prove to most of our peers and our customers that it can be done. So location itself, the east side of Jakarta, roughly 47 kilometers. If you've been to our country, Indonesia, it's hot all year long. The range of temperature is high 20s to high 40s, which is not going to be good for which we don't have any kind of natural cooling at all in here. So there's a lot of energy needs to be done to cool all those servers or equipments. This is a very good candidate for solar power. We have a lot of sunshine, and we don't have much options for wind and hydropower also in this area. Quickly, this is our site now. Pretty much most of the maps that you see is our data center site. We have a very huge site, and we also reserve a lot of site for the data center area. It's around 30,000 meters square. That's for the solar panel only. And data center right now is on building phase. It's almost completed. It's going to be completed in a few months' time. And the solar panel is now starting to go. So we are starting to build the land for the solar panel. Okay, so this is how it looks like, the project. So those are the picture as in this month, early this month. You see we have quite a lot of space, since solar panels needs a very big space. Right now we are aiming 10,000 meters square for 1 megawatt of power. So this is our first stage of building the solar panel. So it will be used right now for the non-essential electricity first as a test phase, and it will be by the time next year we will improve increase this to 3 megawatts, and we will run the data center using that on the daytime. The reason I say it's in daytime because this will be the next slide, will be my last one. This is the challenges that we face right now. I think it's good to share. To be able to run these solar panel projects efficiently, you need to be affordable and cost efficient. The highest price in this project is the battery price. So right now we are running the solar panel without the battery. So it can only be run in the daytime, so around 5 to 6 hours. But with that approach, we are able to meet the price actually slightly lower than the state-owned energy, which is using the non-renewable energy. So with this solution, pretty much it's only a one-time cost, and this panel will run for 20 years. And we are able to save quite a lot of, we will be able to generate quite a lot of energy from it, with also some saving in it. One of the hard part is the regulation and tax. It is still not very clear or very supportive in Indonesia yet for the regulation and tax support. We actually pay more tax by using this one, not less tax. And also the license, because right now the only things the government allow is to build this for our own. Means we can only use a smaller scale. If I can build this a very large scale and I can provide this power to our neighbors, I think in terms of cost will be a lot reduced, and we can actually help our surrounding also with this power. That's what we are trying to promote also, to give the exit power, that the one that we're not using, to our neighbors and to the society. I think these are the challenges we face, but I think the lessons that we learn from this is, we need to start. If you find a partner, find the solar panel expert, they will be able to help you. Right now, the prices are good. It can be done, and it can be very, very cost efficient also. I believe this technology is still going forward. So at least if you start now, start small, and there's also always a room for improvement. I think by a few years' time, I think we'll be able to reach those goals to be a zero sustainable energy. I think those are for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ricky. I hope that your data center is going to be a role model, a model for a lot of the people, because solar is one of the energy, I think people have a lot of expectation. And so the next speaker is going to be our Puni. Puni is going to be talking about micro hydroelectric. I think that when we are looking at the different energy alternatives, this one definitely is going to be the one that we want to pay attention. This is an alternative energy solution. So Puni, you have the mic, and let's hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Joy. I would like to say hi to everybody and happy to be here. And I would like to directly share the PowerPoint presentation. Hopefully, then we can discuss. Okay, maybe I have to start from the top because, okay, now what I'm going to share with you is how we have, as a nation, trying to rethink the future of Indonesian energy. Why we do that? Because mostly, if we understand right now, we still basically on a coal. The biggest one is coal power plant that we have. And it's really become our concern. So that's why, even though we have very small, but we have many places that can generate renewable energy. Well, have a look at Indonesian situations like Dublin to Ankara. We have a huge country with 17,000 more islands and only 7,000 inhabited. So I'm using 265, but nowadays actually it's 270 million populations. Unfortunately, 120 million unelectrified and, well, located in more than 36,000 villages unelectrified. Usually they're remote, scattered, and poor infrastructure. Well, this is maybe different with the government data, because in our definition, electrification is 24 hours. It has to be electrified, not only 6 hours or 3 hours or only one village being electrified, then you can claim that the whole population electrified. Okay, and well, this is what we made, not hydro only, but I just would like to share that we can also succeed it with a very, very tiny, only 500 watt turbine. But when we made it 100, become 50. And I love the kids who were surprised to see this, because if you see that this is only 400 meter height, and it's already giving electricity. And then this is one. The one that we made this long time ago, more than almost 30 years, that we came to villages and we saw that water wheel like this. And we're so proud because it's really the energy that they want to have using their own capability. Don't talk about alignment. Don't talk about precision. Only talking about having electricity. Yes, indeed. It's really appropriate, but we still have to help them. The biggest problem here is only you have to use a lot of power, because when the water is very huge number, then you have very nice, lighting. But when the water is decreasing, then the bulb will be, reducing their light. But then from that, we can improve. We ask a community. That's why our program, we call it a community-based electricity power supply, because then we can improve the capability of local community. And for us, the best technology, if we can bring as close as possible to the community capability, then we do empowerment. Well, this is from the 10 kilowatt, we increased to 24 kilowatt. It's become better. But then nowadays, we can make up to 250. Okay, rethinking our future energy, we have to consider of clean energy and easy access for all. If we're talking about those two things, of course, distributed power generation is a must, because we have so many villages that we're using this not only to electrify them, but also to alleviate poverty and combat the economic inequality. Well, if we want to do everything this, renewable energy is the answer, and community-based. We build renewable energy, we are involving the community. Okay, looking at this renewable energy potential in Indonesia, especially on hydro, I would like to make it quick with the scale, talking about the power scale. Below 100 kilowatt is small, between 100 kilowatt and up to 1.5 megawatt is medium, and the big one is above 1.5 megawatt. Availability in Indonesia, when we talk about power scale of below 100 kilowatt, small, but the availability is plenty. We can find everywhere. I mean, if you traveling to the small villages, then you can see that so many refer that you want to generate this to become a renewable energy. But on the medium, the availability is not that much. And on a big size, it's very rare, of course. But how we put this as a business category? If we consider a community-based business category, the small is plenty, but the way we treat as a charity. There is no way they have the capability to build and having investment on their own. But in between, we call this category as an empowerment, because the size is already medium, and we saw some several places that we can invite the local community, and we make this program as an empowerment program. What about the big one? The big one is very rare, the availability, but when we want to develop, we are using the social and environmental businesses approach. Renewable energy or green energy economy, we are using the paradigm of partnering with local community to develop this. This is completely different to what we have now, is fossil fuel or black carbon economy. The big, we consider as a commercial. The medium, we think that this is non-commercial. And below 100 kilowatt is no businesses. So the paradigm of investor dominance will only use the big one because they don't want the non-commercial, they don't want, there is no businesses. Okay, as a people that are working with the local community, we are using, of course, the community partnership paradigm. This is in Sumba, how we are working together with the local community to build 3 locations of hydro. The location is in a very valley and a very deep below, but you can find many water.
Perlu menyambut dengan gembira karena Indonesia merdeka dari 70-an tahun yang lalu, tetapi belum kami rasakan bantuan seperti ini dari lembaga IBK yang membantu kami untuk mendapat penerangan yang leluhur kami tidak pernah impikan, bahwa hari ini kami dapat satu sukacita yang luar biasa. Puji Tuhan, ini adalah berkat yang luar biasa untuk kami Kecamatan Kaung Eti, Desa Kambatagundong.
Pertama, dari keberlanjutan yang dari strategi IBK adalah pada fondasi sosial, di mana masyarakat menjalin hubungan antar sosial masyarakat secara utuh dengan ada aspek partisipasi aktif dalam bentuk pembangunan gotong royong maupun pengelolaan secara bersama, sehingga mereka punya kesadaran untuk saling bahu-membahu, saling mengingatkan, saling membuka transparansi dan juga saling mengkritisi maupun memberikan saran untuk hal yang lebih baik.
PLTMH ini tidak sekedar kita ngomong tentang teknis, tapi juga non teknis. Bagaimana kita bicara tentang manusia? Bagaimana masyarakat setempat itu merasa memiliki dengan kegiatan ini, dengan program ini. Karena itu menjamin bagaimana ini nanti bisa berlanjut.
I think that this is really wonderful when we're seeing all the different alternatives that we have seen from Indonesia. You obviously have done tremendous work on this to do the sustainability. So I'm sorry I interrupt a little because I really want to get to our fourth speaker, because when we are talking
I have
about...
to stop. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
okay.
I have to stop here. Only a sustainability of techno-anthropological program for socio-economic changes can only be done by capturing the local community passion, energy, and imagination. Thank you very much, Joy. This is my last. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Sorry for
Sustainability,
taking so much.
community. You brought everything together. And my next, thank you very much, Puni. I think it's wonderful. And
Thank you, Joy. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. So when we're talking about environmental sustainability, we're talking about energy, and there's a keyword, decarbonization. that's something that we have heard over and over. So today I'm very happy to have Professor Tim Wee from National Supercomputer Center in Singapore. So he's going to share with us how he does that. And I'm sure it's going to be definitely a great story to hear. So Tim, yours.
Thank you very much, Joy, and thank you for inviting me to speak on decarbonization efforts. The whole picture of decarbonization involves quite many things, not just using non-carbon sources of energy. And I would like to summarize in today's talk in these 3 points: use less energy, use green energy, and think about computing elsewhere. And the earlier speakers have also mentioned the possibilities of surrounding areas around Singapore that could lend itself to green energy supply. And certainly this is an eye-opener for me that I must seriously talk about cooperation within our ASEAN region rather than thinking about collaborations further afield. I am the Tan Tien Wee, and I am the Chief Executive of the National Supercomputing Center. And today I would like to present to you some of our ideas about how we can use less energy, use green energy, and compute elsewhere. One of the key things about using less energy is to make use of energy efficient chips. Computers are semiconductors based on semiconductor technology, and semiconductors by definition are bad conductors, and they generate heat as well. So there's a lot of energy that's used for the computing, and there's also an energy used for cooling the system. And so the whole issue is very complex, and the energy sources that we tap on increasingly need to be decarbonized. So we have a big problem, right? We use supercomputers, and from the 1,288 nodes, which is about 31,000 cores, we are supporting up to 280 million core hours per year. We're upgrading now to 3 times more, 100,000 cores nearly. But we are using more energy efficient chips. So in other words, for the given amount of compute power, we want to use less energy. So as a supercomputing center, we deal with a lot of hot energy, high utilization of energy. My supercomputer here in the first version uses 1 megawatt of power, just one supercomputer. The Aspire 2 supercomputer that you see here will probably use up to 4 to 5 megawatts of electricity, just one machine. The other aspects of using less energy may include persuading people to use less data, deduplicate your data, using less, storing less energy, less data might mean moving less data and using more efficient ways of data representation. But that's the topic of another talk. But here we talk next about energy efficient data centers, which Ricky, for example, and Michael, they've already talked about how they're doing it for low-end computing data center farms, like the cloud providers and so on. But we're talking about really hot machines, right? So how do we cool the system? In Singapore, we are a very small country, and high rise is the way forward. So our supercomputer is at level 17. And we make use of the fact that it's high rise in order to tap on the strong winds that blow up there. And as a result, we are able to run our data center hot. Our hot aisle is actually 40 degrees. And because the temperature outside is at most 35, 36 degrees due to global warming, the temperature differential is still sufficient for us to effect a heat transfer of 45 degrees at the level 18, the red colored box there, the dotted box that you see, where we expel the heat into the upper atmosphere. We also deal with installed a combination of 3 integrated cooling systems. Liquid cooling direct to chip to take the heat out from the chips, and also minimize the amount of air conditioning units, and make use of rear door heat exchangers where we use chilled water in order to cool the data center racks. And most important of all is that Singapore is an island that has limited water resources. We cannot afford to evaporate water for cooling. We use zero evaporative, energy efficient warm water dry coolers, expelling heat at 45 degrees. The warm water cooling system, the warm water goes directly to the computer chip, as you see in the middle of this slide, and the heat exchange, it takes place 40 to 45 degrees. And we make use of the free cooling from the atmosphere by pumping heat to the dry coolers at level 18S. If you look at the top, that is at level 18, where we throw out, it's like a car radiator, we send the heat out to the atmosphere. This is, of course, not ideal for us. So in our next supercomputing center for Aspire 2A, we're going to build it in a different way. We're going to make use of ambient temperature. We're not going to put in any air conditioning at all. So this is quite a challenge. Now, they are in the process of installing it right now. So I'm not sure if we can succeed or not, but I will report to you as soon as enough. We make use of rear door heat exchange using CoolLogic's technology, a thermal siphon effect. So making use of technology in order to improve our operations. Our operations are also further improved by IoT sensors, making use of intelligent data center technologies, including AI, modeling of our data center heat systems, as well as making use of AI and IoT sensors in order to optimize the way our data center is operated. We are currently exploring novel green DC architectures as well. In a joint collaboration with Singapore Liquefied Natural Gas, we are tapping on their something called industrial symbiosis, whereby we tap on the waste energy of one particular industry and use that as input into our input to our needs. So here you see liquefied natural gas minus 162 degrees. We borrow their coal energy from them to cool our supercomputers. So that project is ongoing. And next thing is we need to use greener energy. And we're currently exploring the possibility of putting data centers on water. Water is a very good heat sink, and we are in the process of exploring how we can float solar farms over our water, cover the water in our reservoirs to prevent evaporation. But of course, now if there's plenty of resources in Indonesia, maybe we should seriously consider the possibility of using Indonesia's resources. So solar power is something that we're certainly looking into, and we hope to have this kind of power supply in the form of decarbonization of our energy sources. We also hope to achieve one day net zero carbon, hopefully by 2030, the floating data center concept using liquefied natural gas regasification process to supply the coal, as well as eventually shifting to hydrogen fuel. We also thought about computing somewhere else more efficient. And that possibly now arises, maybe we could be a customer of Ricky here. We can do it because we've already in 2015, 2016 experimented with global range InfiniBand, the network connections that allow us to send our computer jobs to another remote locations. And this allows us to interlink supercomputing data centers together. We are already in negotiations with Finland's Lumi supercomputer, a Euro HPC world-class supercomputer. And through our APAN links, we hope to be able to tap on their cold energy, free cooling that they have in the Arctic Circle to help us on our roadmap that leads us to possibly Arctic free cooling data centers with hydroelectric power. Maybe I should add one more, Indonesia, geothermal energy, and maybe your wind power as well. So with that, let me end by saying use less energy, reduce the data storage, use green energy, and compute somewhere. Think about computing somewhere else. We'll be discussing more about this in our forthcoming conference, 3rd March 2022, in the conference called Supercomputing Asia, Supercomputing in the New Norm, that includes greener, more environmentally sustainable sources of energy to power our increasingly heavy computing and data requirements. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Ting Wei. You run a fabulous supercomputing center, and I'm really looking forward for a data center without any air conditioning. So looking forward. So for the remaining of the time, I'd like to dedicate this to some of our environmental experts. That's Jin Wong, that's Michael. He referred himself in this session as the other Michael, and Chin Young Wong. I'm not sure I see you on our list here, but do feel free. Jin Wong, I'm going to start with you. Why don't you make your comment or any question that you have for one of or four of our speakers. And Michael, you can follow up after Jin Wong's talk. I already see some wonderful conversation going on in our dialogue. I think this is great. This is the first time we're talking about this topic, and I'm so happy to see all this engagement here. So Jin Wong, why don't you start? And the floor is yours for now. Jin Wong.
Right. Thank you so much for all the presentation, and I was really glad to hear all of the speeches about what we can do with the environment and internet. While I was participating in other environmental session in IGF, I haven't really get to see such a specific initiative that we could do for the internet, and I was really impressed by all the speeches. I think many internet operators would have been get more inspiration about how to reduce more carbon footprint and so on. So yeah, I'm really glad that this session is happening. And while listening to Michael's presentation, you were talking much about like community driven and things has to be based on community needs while keeping the connectivity running. So my question is there any initiative that other rural operation and operator can learn from you that your company is doing about how to put more connectivity and having more inclusive community-based needs for those internet operations that can be directly learned by other internet operators?
Okay, shall we maybe go to Michael, my other Michael first, and your comment and questions, and then maybe we could come back to our speakers to try to answer maybe together. Thank you. Michael?
Thank you for allowing me to join you. Due to the interest of time, I'll really try to make this as short as possible. I really love these presentations, and I really thank the SIG for making this a part of the program. It's something that unfortunately has not been on the radar of our community for long enough. And I don't just mean APNIC, I mean the wider internet infrastructure community at large, much to our detriment, I think. We should have been addressing this topic 40 years ago, but here we are. And so I have three main points that I want to add to what's already been said, because I think aside from what I've added to the comments, I think that it's very clear kind of which direction we need to take. The first is that we have to absolutely make the business case for sustainability. I think it's clear that we've talked about two things here. One is the involvement of community, and one is the recognition that each layer of internet infrastructure needs to take sustainability into account. However, we have to make sure that we make the sustainable option the most basically the best one. And we can't, because as long as we're competing with options that are unsustainable but might be cheaper, that is always going to be that is always going to hinder our progress. And so, of course, this is especially relevant to the data center sector, but even to community organizers. I think it's a really good. They offer a really good framework as to how to take a low-cost solution that is highly sustainable and use that especially for unconnected communities, or for communities that are more impoverished. Number two is that we absolutely have to generate political will. I don't need to lecture anybody in the Asia Pacific region about how dire the climate crisis is in terms of the amount of resiliency and infrastructure that is necessary. If we think about submarine cable landing stations and how rising sea levels are going to potentially harm them, if we think about the uptick of natural disasters, typhoons, volcanic eruptions, etc., regardless of whether or not they're caused by climate change or not, the point is that this is something that is happening more frequently, and it is already disrupting our infrastructure. Switching to more sustainable options is not just good for marketing. It's something that we have to do in order to maintain connectivity, both electrical and internet. They go hand in hand. Having said that, we are not going to get there unless we also make sure that at the policy level, at the high level, we have real political will that is promoting these. And this is going to be really a multi-stakeholder kind of effort that is necessary to lobby political actors to take infrastructure resiliency and embed sustainability into that infrastructure seriously. And then the very last thing I want to mention is that this has been mentioned in the chat a little bit so far. But as much as taking decarbonization, for instance, into account, as much as taking the kind of energy into account, that is absolutely great. At the same time, we also have to take a holistic approach. We have to recognize that sustainability is not just solar energy, it's not just renewable energy, etc. It's really asking ourselves, okay, how do we take an entire value chain and turn that into something circular, sustainable, into something that isn't harming communities, whether they be local or international, etc. And how do we really make sure that we embed that within our technologies, within our purchasing, within the policies that we're advocating for. So with that said, I'd like to think that everybody that's spoken today has helped to kind of highlight those points, and I really hope this helps.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Michael. I think that we are, this is an exciting topic. I think we are not going to be able to stop like when we should stop. But so let me just leave the rest of the time maybe for 3 words from each speaker and a quick round. And then maybe Bekran, you can save whatever left the minutes to give us a summary. How's that? Okay, Michael, Michael first.
Yeah,
yes.
hi. Should I answer the question? I suppose I should answer the question. So
let's get the 3 word to as a wrap up first. Thank you.
I strongly support what's been said before. It's a joint effort, so we need to match joint interests for joint benefits.
Wonderful. And Ricky, your 3 words, please.
Yes, I think looking at all the other presentation and stuff, this is a good idea. I think we should work together to achieve what we can do. At least this is a good start for us. Thank you.
Great. Kuni? Short 3 words. Thank you.
Synergy and cooperation is very important to build, our region. Thank you.
Wonderful. And Tingwei?
Thank you very much. I learned a lot, and I think what we should take home is the ability to open ourselves to learning from other people and sharing with them our experiences, and most importantly, learning from them. Thank you.
Wonderful. Bekran, I don't know how you're going to summarize this. Maybe 10 words? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Hello and namaste, everyone. Welcome to this EPNIC 52 virtual conference. Definitely, this session has focused on impact of the internet on ecology is simply pollution caused by the operation of the internet, and how the EPNIC community has cooperated with the impact on the internet environment. With ISPs, network operators, data center have adopted efficient energy and sustainable model. Also, how the issues, challenges are addressed and best practices implemented in our respective area. The environment and the technical community expert have already shared their best practices and ongoing progress with innovative concepts and ideas on automation and risk management solutions to keep connectivity running to sustainable practice, and how ISPs and DC manage effectively power backup and preemptive energy backups for stable connectivity in context of circular economy. So according to our speakers, we came to know how efficiently large data center and rural remote ISPs are managed with focus on sustainable environment, energy consumptions, thermodynamic sustainability, and environmental friendly from solar, hydro, and other alternative energy solutions, which leads the environment efficient and reduce carbon footprint significantly. Also, a green data center or a sustainable data center is a service facility which utilize energy efficient technology. They do not contain obviously obsolete system, and take advantage of newer, more efficient technology and initiatives of decarbonization. With the exponential growth of this internet uses, power consumption in data center has increased significantly. Due to the result environmental impact, increase in public awareness, higher cost of energy, and legislative actions, increased pressure has been placed on company to follow a green policy. For this reason, the creating sustainable data center has become essential in an environmental and a business sense. So thank you, everyone. I think there is lots of insight we had, but it's very limited time. Thank you. Over to Pablo.
Okay, Pablo, let's do the final closure. I know you want to share with us the mailing list and everything else. Thank you. Pablo?
Thank you. Time flew very fast. We are at the tip of the hour. I want to just thank you, Joy and Bikram, and all the speakers and all the discussants and everyone that helped shape this session. So we have a quick poll to run. If you can help me to put that on. So this can help to add pressure to more time to this important subject. So if you find this session good, please share. And hope this is just the start of a conversation, so we can have more in the next events.
Wonderful. Thank you, Pablo, and thank to all my wonderful speakers and my environmental experts. Let's keep the conversation going on in the mailing list as well as in the space in our APNIC blog and everything else. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Thank you.